Alrighty, we are live. It is a solo stream tonight. Lucas Wencl just hanging out with you all. We are going to dive into the best ball streets, do a little bit of Best Ball Mania 5 over on Underdog Fantasy. I can't believe I didn't even get the banner rolling on the bottom of the screen. I just got back from out of town. I was at a work conference, like literally the entire first half of this week. So I am like all over the place. We're just getting back here though. Best Ball Mania 5 over on Underdog Fantasy. If you want to dive into this draft with me, you can use code FELLAS over on Underdog Fantasy. That link is in the description of the live you are watching. You can get in on this draft, Best Ball Mania 5. You'll get a first deposit match, 50% up to $250, a free square for their Pick'em lobby, and we'll even send you our 2024 draft guide for free. Scan code FELLAS over on Underdog if you want to join. That dude, yo, do I remember you from last year? Yes, I do, because we are indeed. We're going to be doing lineup advice every single week. We're going to be going live before Sunday kickoff, doing some preseason mock drafting live right now. It's what we're doing tonight. We're doing 2 lives a week, a mock draft podcast episode every single week up until the start of the season as well. We got a ton of content coming for you also. Looking forward to that. Thanks for tuning in, that dude. Celtic Guns, what's up? Yo, we are live. We're going to dive into his best ball draft here. Now, because it's me tonight, Nick, what's cracking, man? Good to see you, man. Thanks for popping in. Because it's just me tonight, I'm going to have a lot more time to answer questions, engage with you all in the chat here. So if you have a fantasy football question, if you have a draft question, if you have a trade question, I don't know, a fantasy football question, you want to ask me how my work trip was, do whatever. I'm going to be able to chat with you all a ton tonight. But let's dive on into this Best Ball Mania 5 draft. If you want to hop in here, I will be entering in 3, 2, 1. Get out these best ball streets tonight. Taking us a hot minute to fetch a draft here. There we go. Waiting on 2 more people here. NTT, what's good, man? What's good? Appreciate you hopping on, man. Thanks for swinging by. Looks like Miguelito, what's popping? Got an opinion on my team, 12-man, full PPR. Amon-Ra, Debo, Rashad White, Kamara, London. Love Ferguson, benches Godwin, Samuels, Brooks, Corley, Musgrave. Yeah, I really do like that. I'm not in love with the Malachi Corley pick, but I mean, looking at your wide receivers, you're obviously deep there. You got Amon-Ra and Debo. I think your 1-2 punch of Rashad and Kamara at running back is fine. Obviously, that could be stronger, but I'm still a fan of both of those guys as we pull the 1-2 here into this draft. And then, but even the depth afterwards, right? You get Jonathan Brooks, who could come on strong at the end of the season. You still get Zeke, who I think is probably going to be the primary goal line back and early down back, but a little bit of risk there with Rico Dowdle. But overall, like, I'd say it's a very solid B+ team. Again, I'm not as big of a fan of. I want one of the elite tight ends this year. So Jake Ferguson is fine. I do like him as a mid to late round tight end, but overall, like a B+, I would give that team. I feel good about entering the season with that team. Churchill, what's good, man? Thanks for swinging by. We're just hopping in. Best Ball Mania 5 draft here over on Underdog Fantasy. We're about to start this draft in 5 seconds. I should see if I know anybody in here. I don't think I'm drafting with anybody I know. Low badge lobby. All right, so we got a nice little CeeDee Lamb 101. We'll go ahead and we'll take Christian McCaffrey here. I'm okay running the risk on Christian McCaffrey this year. The risk, if there's a risk at all with Christian McCaffrey, right? He is very clearly the number 1 overall running back, and you know his upside, and you're not going to feel bad taking a swing on him. And if you miss, you're not going to kick yourself for that after the season he just had. We'll go back to Miguelito's team here. That dude saying Kamara is super underrated on ESPN right now. He totally is. He's going later than he is on Sleeper. I love Kamara right now. It's going as like the running back 17, I believe, in redraft home leagues right now. That's just crazy to me. Do I like Evans in the early rounds or Godwin in the late rounds? I am a much bigger fan of Chris Godwin in the late rounds. I think Chris Godwin could draw more targets, or will draw more targets than Mike Evans this year. I do think we get a bounce back season from Chris Godwin in the slot. There's going to be more than 4 touchdowns that fall his way this year. And when Chris Godwin has played majority of his snaps in the slot in previous seasons, we're talking about a guy who's finished as a top 20 wide receiver in 4 of those years. It's as simple as that, right? Liam Cohen's going to move him back into the slot. I really do like Chris Godwin as a bounce back candidate. I'd rather draft him in the later rounds than Mike Evans, who's going basically middle of round 2 right now. This is a great question, especially early in this draft. A great first round question of Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson. Right, though that's the big 4 or the big 3 with Jamar, Amon-Ra, and Justin Jefferson. My preferred order. So this is a half PPR league on Underdog. We saw Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson go. My preferred order in a half PPR is Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase. In a PPR league, I think I still prefer the same order, though you could just as easily say Amon-Ra, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and I wouldn't be upset whatsoever, because I do think there's a world where Amon-Ra, again, PPRs his way to the wide receiver 3 this year with 14 to 17 games being played indoors. But I think Chase he's not the odd one out. He's the one I like the least out of the 3. I know Joe Burrow has been cleared for contact with his wrist injury. I'm just not as optimistic as other people are about it. I think people are just willing to say Joe Burrow's back. Here we go. Obviously that's better for Jamar Chase, but I don't think it fixes absolutely everything. Miguelito, thanks for the input. Respect, unfortunately, missed on Kincaid, McBride, London fell all the way to 52. You had to take him. No, I agree. You take Drake London at that point. There is no question about that. If he falls there, you go ahead and you take Drake London. Devo and Pure Cell value goes up with Ayuk leaving. Absolutely. And Christian McCaffrey too, right? Like Brandon Ayuk leaves. Like some of those targets have to filter somewhere. They're going to go to Kittle. They're going to go to Debo. They're going to go to Pearsall, but like some of those abandoned targets are going to trickle down to Christian McCaffrey. And look, we're on the clock here in a handful of picks. And did Debo go already? Is Debo going in the first round now on Underdog? He is going in the first round. Holy crap. I mean, with Ayuk leaving, I don't blame people. Well, there goes Jalen Waddle. This is a really tricky spot because I'm not a massive fan of any of the wide receivers here. Brandon Ayuk being traded obviously is no good. I'm not as big on Mike Evans. I know people don't like Cooper Kupp, but like he's my guy here. This is the medicine you have to take in Underdog leagues when wide receivers go this early, or when wide receivers go so insanely early. You take Christian McCaffrey there, you're basically committing yourself to wide receiver for the next 4 rounds, and you don't have a choice. You don't get to choose who you take. It's whatever wide receivers are at the top of the board and the ones you believe in the most. So I will go Cooper Kupp there. I'm terrified if Brandon Ayuk gets traded to Pittsburgh. I'm terrified if he gets traded to New England. I'm terrified if he gets traded to Washington. These aren't good offenses. And now while his volume may go up, I don't think that's a guarantee that it means more fantasy points than what he scored last year. So I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take DK Metcalf here then too. The Rams and the Seahawks offenses are 2 I love this year just because of the high passing volume. I'm a believer in Ryan Grubb's system translating to the NFL. Geno has been first in completion percentage over expected since he took over the Seattle Seahawks job 2 years ago. This is a guy who's accurate deep downfield as well. This is a guy who I think Ryan Grubb can turn DK Metcalf into his Rome Odunze, if you will, this year. I'm a huge fan of DK. I'm not a fan of Cooper Kupp and DK as a 1-2 punch after going McCaffrey. But again, this is the medicine you're forced to take in Underdog drafts when people are just, again, we're all in a handshake agreement saying we're going to go wide receivers early. Get them while you can. Otherwise, you are going to miss out. Why is the 9th pick bad? I don't necessarily think the 9th pick is terrible. Now I did make a video. I did make a short on our shorts channel on YouTube saying the 8th pick was absolutely terrible to draft from this year, which I still stand by that. Because in your home leagues, you still have to take a shot on one of those second round wide receivers. And Devontae Adams probably gives you the most safety, but if it's Chris Olave, if it's Drake London, I like personally, I'd rather draft my wide receiver in the first round, grab a Kyron Williams in the second round, and then grab a Jalen Waddle, who on Underdog he's going in the second round, but on Sleeper he's going in the third round. I would much rather have a 1-2 punch of JJ and Waddle paired with Kyron than a Brees paired with Chris Olave and Jalen Waddle. Like, I feel much better about the Kyron and Jefferson pairing with Waddle. So that's why I don't like these back half picks. That's why I prefer drafting in the like 3, 4, 5, 6 range this year. I prefer those spots above the back half of the draft for sure. If you think you get straight to the Steelers, you think he's still taken later? Yes, I do. I still think he's taken later. I don't believe this Pittsburgh Steelers offense can support a top 15 fantasy wide receiver. Not with George Pickens there, not with Pat Freiermuth involved, with Arthur Smith as well. I'm part of it is like I also just don't believe in Russell Wilson all that much. Maybe he can. I'm willing to look silly. But I'm not a believer, man. I'm one where I got to see it outside of San Francisco before I believe it in terms of a top 15, top 16 where he's being drafted wide receiver finish. Here we go. I want to address some of the Ayuk stuff first. He refused New England, Pittsburgh, Cleveland top 2, creating a deal for Ayuk. Yeah, even in Cleveland, like Cleveland might be the best spot out of those 3. And I'm still not a fan because you still got Amari Cooper. Well, Amari's probably going to go in the trade to get Ayuk. So it would be Ayuk and Jerry Jeudy. That's probably what you're looking at for a 1-2 punch. I'm more okay with Ayuk in Cleveland than I am in Pittsburgh. Part of it is I'm more of a believer in Kevin Stefanski than I am in Arthur Smith. Some of it is that, but that's also one where I'm going to have to, when that trade happens, I'm going to rehash my rankings, rehash my projections for these two offenses. I'm going to tell you right now, Debo is going to probably be like a top 12 wide receiver, a top 10 wide receiver for me. And Ayuk, who is currently, I believe, my wide receiver 16, he's probably going to slide closer to my wide receiver 20 if I had to guess. So I'm definitely going to have those two flip-flopped. And Debo is definitely a riser here. Am I tripping on what happened to Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson? I don't even see them being drafted on the big board. Yeah, so no, you're good, Brett. Brett, you're good, man. They all went up here. They all went in the early round here. So oh, look at this. And I'm cutting off the 12th pick here. So let me expand my screen here. There we go. Now you should be able to see everything. Let's just put this puppy full screen. That'll be easiest. So there you go. They all went first round. You're good. I was cutting off the 12th pick there. You're not tripping, dog. Let's see here. Am I high on Garrett Wilson this year? That's what I'll come back to. I do like me some Garrett Wilson this year. I wouldn't say I'm high on him. I'm fine with where he's being projected, but I do think he's one of the guys going in his range that could potentially be, a top, the number 1 overall wide receiver this year, almost a top 3. But like, I do think if he clicks with Aaron Rodgers, if he gets that mind meld like he had with Devontae Adams as Amari Cooper's going to go, I was really hoping we can get a nice little slide there. If he gets that mind meld with Aaron Rodgers, there's absolutely number 1 overall wide receiver potential there. Are we going to get another auto pick here? We might get another auto pick here, which is going to be infuriating. Because really T. Higgins or Amari Cooper were the 2 guys I was hoping would slide back. Okay, we got a Christian Kirk pick. I'm going to take T. Higgins here. This is the all injured wide receiver team. Am I sure that I can trust him team? Which doesn't make me feel great, but at the same time, again, this is the medicine you're forced to take when you go Christian McCaffrey first overall. I might reach down the board and grab a little Calvin Ridley. I was super overweight on DeAndre Hopkins and super underweight on Calvin Ridley. So I am going to go ahead and take Calvin Ridley with the D-Hop injury. So that gives us a 4 start at wide receiver of Cooper Kupp, DKT Higgins, Calvin Ridley to pair with Christian McCaffrey. We'll drink our medicine on quarterback and tight end later, but that's the start we're looking at. I don't love a CMC start. I would much rather have a CD Lamb, Tyreek Hill start, but I'm also not going to pass up on. I'm also not going to pass up on Christian McCaffrey there as well. Okay, Big 12. I was like, what? Yeah, no, you're good, dude. You're good. Let's see here. What other questions do we want to talk about? We got quite a few questions here. Thanks for those of you tuning in. Quite a few of you over on YouTube, on Facebook as well. Appreciate you all hanging out. Let's see here. Devon Achane around 3 or 2, then getting a Connor Montgomery to back up Achane. Yeah, I am a big fan of this, especially the Montgomery one. I think when you draft a guy like Achane, you're recognizing you're drafting a risk, right? Because Devon Achane doesn't have a clean bill of health, right? A clean bill of health. I mean, we saw that last year. The dude came back and all of it played one game, not even a full game, and then he injured his ankle again, and then we missed some more time with him. So I am a big fan of if you can get a Devon Achane early and then stabilize him with another running back like a David Montgomery, who is going to get 15 carries a week, who is probably going to get a goal line carry or two every single week. Doesn't mean he's going to score, but more weeks than not, you can bank on this Detroit Lions off-field offense being near the goal line. That's where I got my offline from. You can bank on the Detroit Lions offense being near the goal line and David Montgomery scoring to stabilize anytime that Devon Achane may miss. So I'm a big fan of that of Achane in round 2 or 3 where you can get him and then stabilizing him with a consistent guy like David Montgomery. I'm a big fan of that. Anthony Richardson top 7 this year. Super nervous on drafting him. I am not. I am not nervous on Anthony Richardson at all. I am 100% in on Anthony Richardson. I am not ashamed. Richardson's currently my quarterback 4. The only 3 quarterbacks I have ahead of him are Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen. I think this Indianapolis Colts offense could potentially explode this year. I think you get the dual threat of Anthony Richardson. This is a guy where I think people are going to critique him as being injury prone, of like, he hardly played last year. This dude is a big for a quarterback. Okay. Like he is big. This is the kind of guy who shouldn't get injured often. And sure, he had an injury, issue with his shoulder already. That's fine, but I'm not concerned because this is a guy who could still sling it around the yard. This is a guy who still has the IQ. This is a guy who still has Shane Steichen as his offensive coordinator, who is frankly a very, very smart football mind and showed that last year by essentially maximizing Gardner Minshew to get to 9-8 as a team. So yeah, I am super in on Anthony Richardson. It's a guy who, again, I think if he scored double-digit rushing touchdowns this year, I wouldn't be surprised. He's got Michael Pittman to work with. He's got Jonathan Taylor there as well. I'm a big fan of Anthony Richardson. I think the only reason why people are scared off from him is because of that shoulder injury, and I just don't think that's entirely fair to a guy of his size, of his stature, of his age. We shouldn't be slapping an injury-prone tag on him. And only, what is he, 23 years old? Like, I think we're getting a little premature with that conversation there. Let's see here. Who else do we got? If I drafted first round wide receiver like JJ, would you take Garrett Wilson or a running back like Gibbs or Williams? So if you draft Justin Jefferson in the first round, I'm wasting no time if Garrett Wilson slides back to you in the second round. Like, that's not one where I'm not as concerned about the build. I am concerned about drafting the best players. And I think Garrett Wilson could outscore a Jahmyr Gibbs, a Kyron Williams this year. Now, I think you can make the case more so for Gibbs than you could Williams to take ahead of Garrett Wilson. But frankly, I am a huge fan. If you see those wide receivers start to fall with how quick they go off the board, I would be all over a Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson start. I don't know where you're going to get that. That would have to be a pretty big slide for Garrett Wilson or Gibbs. But again, like I said earlier, if you can get Gibbs, JJ, and Waddle to start your draft, like, that is the dream start for me, as we're close to being on the clock here. So again, here we are. We're in a range where we've got a Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley start with Christian McCaffrey. Looking at a board of Christian Watson, CJ Stroud, Ladd at the top, David Montgomery. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably going to take one of Montgomery or Kamara. And to get the week 17 stack, which is important in Underdog, because this is a contest, that's given away 1.5 mil to the wall. There goes David Montgomery. I shouldn't have said anything. Okay, fine. We'll pivot. We'll go ahead and we'll take Alvin Kamara here. We'll get our second running back. And I think we're we don't have any. Oh, we do. We got a little bit of the Rams Cardinals week 17. I don't want to stress about that too much yet. I'm probably gonna go Evan Ingram here because I hate drafting. I hate drafting tight end late, and I think McCaffrey, Kamara can anchor us for a while here. It's good. It's a long time till wide receivers come back though. Well, there goes Evan Ingram. Just let me open my big mouth again. Let's go ahead and do Jacksonville. Let's get a little Brian Thomas in here. Get a little bit of Week 17 Tennessee Jacksonville in here. Mix it up a little bit. We got the makings for it. We can bring this team back to life. I shouldn't say bring this team back to life. This is still a fine team, but again, when you start Christian McCaffrey, you're forced into taking your wide receiver medicine afterwards because it falls off so quickly in these underdog drafts. This dude is tripping taking Cup. I mean, if you want to call me tripping for taking the wide receiver, what was he? The wide receiver 15 from weeks 12 to 17 last year when the Rams were fully healthy, fully functioning as an offense. That's fine. You can call me crazy for that. You can call me tripping for that. My opinion, I think this Rams offense is too freaking good to not support 2 top 15 wide receivers this year. Especially when reports out of camp have been saying Cup is looking really good. Looking like Stafford's favorite target again. So oh, you said take Cup. Hey. I misread. He got me, chat. He got me. You're right. I did take Cup. I took Cup up here. Cooper Cup. Round 2, because wide receivers are flying off the board like freaking crazy, dog. My fault. He said take Cup. All good. Appreciate you, Eric. Appreciate you, man. Am I high on Kyler Murray this year? This is a good one. I see another one from VH Del Salto up above too. I'll get to that one too. Am I high on Kyler Murray this year? I am. Kyler Murray, right behind Anthony Richardson, is my quarterback 5. I am going to be bringing him down. Patrick Mahomes is going to start coming back up in my rankings. The more I see the connection with Xavier Worthy, I'm not buying all in on it just yet, but I don't think Rashee Rice gets suspended this year. We're August 7th. The season is a month away. I highly doubt the NFL is going to slap a suspension here in the next 2-3 weeks on Rashee Rice for this year. So I think we get a full Rashee Rice season. I think he's going to have all of his weapons at his disposal. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have another really, really good season. I think we're going to see him bounce back from last year. I think we're going to see the touchdowns come back up again. So I'm talking more about Patrick Mahomes than I am on Kyler Murray, but I'm going to have those two flipped. I'm probably going to have Patrick Mahomes my quarterback 5, Kyler Murray is my quarterback 6. But yeah, I'm super in on Kyler Murray. You give him Marvin Harrison Jr., you still get the rushing upside there. Like Kyler Murray was still sort of scrambling for 90+ rush attempts last year. That's the pace that he was on. So yeah, I'm 100% in on a guy who's a mobile quarterback, who has Trey McBride, who just got the best wide receiver prospect we've debatably seen since Jamar Chase for sure, if not Julio Jones, depending on how you view Marv. I view Marvin and Jamar Chase as very similar prospects in the light of how elite they are as players. But yeah, I'm absolutely in love with Kyler Murray this year. I love him, man. You prefer Bijan, Breece, or Amon-Ra and AJ Brown? This is a really good question. This is a phenomenal question. Do you prefer Bijan, Breece, or Amon-Ra and AJ Brown? Personally, I'm going to favor the wide receivers. I'm going to favor the wide receivers only because when you start a Bijan, Breece, the wide receivers you're going to be looking at in round 3, again, not necessarily true on Underdog, but like on Sleeper, on ESPN, you're going to be looking at like your wide receiver core is going to be Jalen Waddle, probably DK Metcalf, Cooper Kupp, maybe if you're lucky. But then after that, it starts to fall out pretty quick. If I can start with 2 guys who I believe, AJ Brown is top 5 upside this year. Like AJ Brown's one of my favorite wide receiver picks right now in the late first round. If you can get an Amon-Ra and AJ Brown, but then still find gold on a guy like Alvin Kamara, who's going end of round 6, who I think could still be a top 10 running back this year. You can find value on a guy like Raheem Mostert, going as a running back 28 right now after he finished as a running back 2 last year. You can still take an Isaiah Pacheco even shoot in the 4th round, 3rd round, 4th round to be your running back 1, who I think has top 10 upside this year. I just think you lose out on the potential for guys to have top 10, top 15 upside. Well, there goes Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was going to be one of my next picks. I'm trying to get a stack. What are we doing? What are we doing? Who's this big fade dog? Oh, he's got Jamar Chase. All right, valid. All right. I thought we are just out here drafting Joe Burrow just for fun. I was really hoping we got Joe Burrow there. That stinks. Okay, we got Jordan Addison, Cortland Sutton, Brock Bowers, Jordan Love, Jane Daniels. I mean, we don't really have anything for any of these stacks. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead. I think we're going to take another running back. No, you know what? I don't have much exposure to Brock Bowers. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Brock Bowers. We'll get that pick out of the way. We'll get our tight end. Mostly because I think the tight ends just fall off a cliff after Brock Bowers. I mean, you get Dallas Goedert down here. Is David Njoku off the board already? Yeah, David Njoku's. Oh yeah, he went at the 8-8. So yeah, I mean, after Bowers, I think it really falls off a cliff. As Jordan Addison goes. Now the debate is: do we go another running back? Do we go another receiver? Because at this point, I'm going to kick the can on quarterback. I'm probably going to end up taking 3 quarterbacks on this team. I'll probably end up taking a Will Levis, a Geno, and like a Trevor Lawrence probably. Let's go ahead and get some more exposure to Tennessee Jacksonville. I'm not a huge DeAndre Swift guy. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and we'll take Tony Pollard here. I prefer Tyjae Spears, but I've been drafting more Tyjae than Tony Pollard, so I'm just trying to even out my exposures here on Underdog. All right, let's get back to some questions here. Let's get the draft board back up, and we'll keep chatting away here. Hopefully, you all enjoy this kind of format of like I'm just solo. Typically, we'll get like Ty and Cameron. They're gonna start doing one on Mondays. I'm working on getting guest booked here for the next couple of weeks too, leading up to the season. So hopefully it should be me and another guest, doing these drafts too. But hopefully you like this format of drafting a team, but then answering y'all's questions in between too. Let's see here. You think Zeke and an NTT end zone? Zeke's super underrated pick this year. Yeah, he could be. My only concern with Zeke is his age. Compared to Rico Dowdle, like the 26-year-old Rico Dowdle could just have more pep, more burst than a Zeke this year. I do think Zeke could still get used around the goal line. I still think Zeke can flash some pass catching work as well. I think that both of those are totally possible. And for where Zeke is going, it's a very low risk option, right? So go ahead. Take Zeke. I think he's a fine pick this year. I don't know if he's like super underrated, but I do think he has a chance to be a good value at where he's going. Olave, second round. Can you explain all the hype? Yeah, as one of the few pro Olave guys out there who's actually perfectly fine with the second round ADP. Like, so the thing about the second round guys this year is it is such. I talked about this with Pete Overzet on last week's stream a week ago. If you want to go watch that, that's over on the channel once you're done with this one. We talked about there's this flat tier as I scroll up on the board here. There's this flat tier basically from the beginning of round 2 to like you could make a case for the end of round 3. I would say like, the 3-8 here, where Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake London, Chris Olave, Nico, Devontae, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, Malik Neighbors, like all these guys, you can make a case for any of them going any range in the second round. And I would be willing to listen to you. The reason why I'm okay with Chris Olave there is because you look at this team's offense last year. This offense last year had no easy outs. It was, hey, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, go do work on the outside. And if you're not open down the side on the sideline, well, we're going to force the ball to you. We're going to make your life really difficult. This offense didn't have any like easy buttons for receptions last year. They were second to last in pre-snap motion. They were dead last in play action rate. That actually might be inverse. Dead last in pre-snap motion, second to last in play action rate. This is an offense that did not, they were static basically at the line of scrimmage. So now you bring in Clint Kubiak, who I think is actually going to bring this offense back to life. They're going to bring more motion to this offense. And like, even if Clint Kubiak, like middle of the pack, when he was in Minnesota, I believe he was 14th in play action percentage and 18th in motion. Even if he's middle of the pack, that is far better than whatever they were putting on the field last year. So I think you just got to get Chris Olave more easy open looks in space and let him get to work. I think you're going to see the yards after catch rise this year. I think you're going to get more easy button receptions for him. You're going to see the catch percentage come up this year. I'm not going to be out here telling you Derek Carr is a competent quarterback. But I will tell you that I think this offense is just going to find easier ways to get Chris Olave the football this year. I think they're going to force to be getting Chris Olave the football sooner and closer to the line of scrimmage for easier yards after catch gains without Ryan Ramczyk on the offensive line this year since he's out for the year. So that's my bull case on Chris Olave. I get why people are out. I really do. I don't blame people, but that's my Chris Olave take for this year. And that's why I'm perfectly fine with him in the second round as we're just about to be on the clock again. 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers, and a tight end. I really don't want to say who I want. I'm just going to take a peek at some of these other teams here. Oh my gosh. I know exactly who this pick is going to be. That's going to be like the 4th time we get sniped. I'm willing to put money on it. I really am. It's a Dalton Kincaid team. Oh, Jerome Ford. All right, not the guy I want. I want Trevor Lawrence here. Again, I think this is a 3 wide receiver team. We're probably gonna go Lawrence, Stafford, and then like a Will Levis probably. So I'll go ahead and I'll take the money man Trevor Lawrence there before we get sniped again. Then we'll be looking at wide receiver, running back. I'm tempted to go. I'll probably end up going if Dontavian Wicks is still there. I'll take a Dontavian Wicks share. I'm creeping down on Dontavian Wicks, but you know, with Brock Bowers though, I might want to take another trade, and I'll pick up 2 later. I don't need to reach on a Pat Freiermuth yet, especially if Pittsburgh is the one who he comes to terms if Ayuk gets traded to. Goodness, spit it out, Lucas. If Ayuk gets traded to Pittsburgh, then I really don't want any Pat Freiermuth. So and there goes Dontavian Wicks. Just had to open my big fat mouth. Here's an interesting idea. What if James Conner gets hurt this year? Pick up trade. I'm not. You know what? Since we just talked about Zeke, here we go. Tribute to the chat. We're going to take Zeke. Tribute to the chat. We'll take Zeke. We'll take Zeke there. Not my favorite pick. I really do like Blake Corum this year. Not as a standalone value, but again, if Kyron Williams misses any time this year, Blake Corum, we're immediately locking him into a top 10 back. I don't think we get that same upside with Zeke, but we do get some stability with a Christian McCaffrey, with an Alvin Kamara, with not quite sure how the Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears backfield is going to shake out there. Again, I know I've said my doubts about Zeke with Rico Dowdle, but if we're going to draft as a chat, as if we believe that Zeke could be the guy this year, that he could be an underrated pick, then we're going to take him there. So there we go. Zeke in the 11th round. Let's see here. What about Travis Kelce then? How crazy? Everybody took him first round last year. Now he's going round 3. Is he worth pick? Or is he worth a pick in the 3rd or 4th round as a top tight end? Yeah, I definitely think he is. I don't want to take him early 3rd round. I want to look to take him mid to late 3rd round if I'm going to, mostly because there's a lot of wide receivers I like in the 3rd round this year. If I take Travis Kelce in the 3rd round, I am willingly giving up one of those picks on Deebo Samuel if he still remains in the 3rd round. I don't think he will. I think he will end up being oh my gosh. Deebo Samuel. He'll end up rising into the 2nd round. Sorry, I got a text from my wife. My wife just asked me if I wanted to have a breakfast date on Friday morning. So that made me happy. I haven't seen her in a few days. So Deebo's going to be a 2nd round pick. Travis Kelce took him 1st round last year, going round 3. I think it's worth it if he's mid to late round 3. You're passing up on a few guys I really like in the 3rd round, but I think it's okay if you really want the advantage on tight end. I prefer the guys going in the 4th, 5th round, the Mark Andrews, the Trey McBride, the Dalton Kincaid, mostly because I think they can give you similar upside to Travis Kelce and you get a round discount on them. But I'm okay with that pick, but you also have to recognize what you're giving up there too. How good do I think Amon-Ra, Gibbs will be? Yeah, I mean, Amon-Ra and Gibbs, they're both top 5 options at the position this year on an offense that's going to be probably top 5 in the league this year. I'm a big fan of both. I will be drafting plenty of shares of both. This is a good question from Churchill too. Would you take James Cook or Kamara? Personal, I have Kamara ranked higher than James Cook, but you can make the bull case for both, and I'm not arguing with anybody taking James Cook ahead of Kamara. I mean, that's how ADP is right now. The average draft position of these guys, James Cook is being drafted ahead of Kamara. I'll scroll back up here. I took Kamara in the late 6th round here. Then we saw James Cook, go basically a full 12 picks for 14 picks ahead of him, 15 picks ahead of him, excuse me. So yeah, I mean, it's being drafted that way already, and potentially rightfully so. I mean, James Cook was phenomenal when Joe Brady took over as the offensive coordinator last year, and Alvin Kamara, at age 29 without Ryan Ramczyk this year, could absolutely potentially fall off a cliff this year. I'm still a believer in Kamara because I'm a believer that he's going to be the second best pass catcher in this offense, and I believe in the pass catching upside he possesses. But I personally would take Kamara. I like the value when I think he might actually have a little bit more upside than James Cook, but he definitely has more downside too. That's the reality we have to take into consideration as well. As holy smokes, we might get Trey Benson here on this would be a massive tumble for Trey Benson. If he doesn't go here, I mean, we're going to take value where we can get value with Trey Benson. That's a crazy tumble for holy crap. That's nearly a 3 or 2.5 round tumble on Trey Benson. So I'm going to scoop value and we're going to shut down running back. Like, I don't think we're going to take another running back in this draft. I really don't think we will, because we don't need, with Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, Zeke is our 4. Like, I was going to wait and probably just take one to the later rounds, but man, that's too irresistible there. That's 25 picks. That's 2 full rounds on Trey Benson dropping. That's nuts. We scoop up value where we get value. Should have taken Chubb earlier on. I get that. My stance on Nick Chubb this year is to have no stance. I'm going to go ahead and take Matt Stafford here. I think he has top 10 upside, and we stack him with Cooper Kupp then. Big fan. Oh, you see, I should have gone DeAndre Swift back here instead of Tony Pollard. I forgot we had DK here. That's another week 17 stack we could have looked at. It's all good. We got Tennessee Jacksonville. We'll have to make sure we get a Will Levis. We actually don't need a Will Levis. Not if we got Trevor Lawrence in the same game. Processing out my thoughts here live as I'm chatting questions with you all. We got a handful of rounds here left. We got like 5 rounds left. And then I actually have to get going. We got to record our podcast for tomorrow yet. So we got 6 must draft running backs on our new YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed over there, my guess is a lot of you are actually viewing on the old YouTube channel right now. So what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and I want you to click the description right now, and where it says subscribe to our new YouTube channel. If you could go ahead and subscribe over there, that would be 100% phenomenal, because all of our podcast content is moving over there. We didn't forget an episode yesterday. Yesterday. All of our podcast content has moved over to that channel. We're not posting it on our shorts channel anymore. So if you're watching on our shorts channel, if the video you're watching says Fantasy Football Fellas Shorts, you are on our old channel for the podcast. We're still posting shorts there, obviously, but if you want our podcast content, head over to our new channel. That is in the description of the video you are watching. Do you think I'll regret drafting Diggs? I don't think you'll regret drafting Diggs. I am avoiding the potential landmine, is how I'll phrase it, of Stephon Diggs this year. Because we're talking about a guy who, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you all. I'm terrified he's actually the 3rd best wide receiver in this offense. I'm worried Nico Collins is probably the better wide receiver at this point. And based on what we saw from Tank Dell last year, I think he might end up being the better wide receiver than Stephon Diggs this year. This is a guy where the Bills actually figured out how to make their offense work still without Stephon Diggs. They ripped off a handful of wins to close out the season without hyper-targeting Stephon Diggs. So I think this is a fine NFL move for the Texans, where Diggs is going to be this short to intermediate guy where he can get efficient touches. But I don't think it's automatically going to equate to like upper echelon fantasy points. Like you're drafting Diggs as like the wide receiver 17, 18 right now in home league drafts. And I'm not a fan of that. Like Diggs is going closer to 26, 27 on Underdog right now. I think he has a ton of upside. I also think his floor is like, what we saw at the end of last year as the wide receiver 44. Like I'm terrified that could be his floor as well. So I don't want to say you're going to outright regret drafting Diggs, but I'm personally avoiding the potential headache there. But there's plenty of upside to still be had in drafting Stephon Diggs in that offense. I saw this one from Anthony. What do you think of a Murray Harrison Jr. McBride stack? Personally, I'm only stacking one of those guys with Kyler Murray. It's either going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trey McBride. I prefer the cost value on Trey McBride than Marvin Harrison Jr. I also think McBride's could get off to a hotter start in terms of fantasy production than Trey McBride or than Marvin Harrison Jr. Excuse me, but you can stack either with Kyler, and I'd be perfectly okay with that. All right, on the clock coming up here, Hunter Henry, Noah Fant we're looking at. We don't have any, again, we're looking week 17 here. Week 17 games because of, golly, we need another wide receiver here. We only got 5. Isaiah Likely goes off the board. Wow, the Isaiah Likely hype coming out strong. I'll go ahead. I'll take Noah Fant here as our second tight end. Now we just exit practice early, but I'm okay with that. Get another tight end with Brock Bowers. We'll probably take one more in this draft as well, but we got to get another wide receiver next. It's probably going to be DeMarcus Robinson with the Matthew Stafford stack as well. Cooper Kupp. We'll go down that road and we'll snag a Cardinal in the final round. But if he does get sniped, then we'll probably have to go Jermaine Burton. He took Marvin Mims. Great. We'll go ahead and we'll take DeMarcus Robinson. Looking to be the number 3 wide receiver there for the Rams offense. So that's a big win when he solidified that role at the end of the season. And that's a team that I think is going to be running a crap ton of 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver sets this year. It's what opens up the running game. It's what opens up all of Matthew Stafford's options. So big fan of DeMarcus Robinson there this year as well. Best draft guide in the space. Get it for ourselves. I appreciate you, Caleb. Appreciate you, man. Our draft guide, that's also in the description of the video you're watching here. $10 got our full season statted out projections, over 240 players. And I say 240 players, but really what you're getting is my projections on those 240 players, Cameron's projections on those 240 players, and Tyler's projections, all while getting risk, upside, and consistency scores on them as well. Everything in there from consensus ranks to tiers to full projections. Just praying none of my league mates have it again. Multitude of different ways you can get that link. You can get a copy of it right down in the description of this video, fellasdraftguide.com. You can go visit there. You can also sign up for Underdog Fantasy, where we're drafting on right now. You can use our code fellas over there. Make a first time deposit over there because they'll double. They're going to match your first deposit up to $250 through a 50% deposit match. They're also going to give you a free square for their pick'em lobby as well. And so by free square, they're basically going to give you 99% off a player specifically. They're doing a lot of Olympic specials right now. So if you want like LeBron potentially to pop up in your pick'em lobby to only score half a point in his next game, you get that as well. And then we'll send you our draft guide for free. So you could, if you're just like, I don't know, I want to try out one of these Underdog drafts, you could throw in $10. Underdog's going to give you 5 extra to make it 15. We'll give you our draft guide for 100% free just by doing that too, if you just want to try out Underdog. So again, code fellas over there if you want to do that. Let's see here. Should I trade Travis Kelce for Tyreek Hill? You absolutely should if you get Tyreek Hill. If you get Tyreek Hill in that deal, that is a no-brainer. Yeah, that dude, I saw this question earlier. I wanted to make sure I got back to it. What channel are you going to be doing the weekly lineup advice on? That's something we're still figuring out because we have the shorts channel, but we're trying to distinguish where we want to have, if we want to put the lives exclusively on the podcast channel or if we want to split it on both, because we can stream to both. We're live on both platforms right now, My guess is that we're probably going to move it over to the long form channel, the podcast channel, mostly because I think we want to leave shorts exclusively for shorts. We're kind of doing the drafts just to kind of catch a wide range of audience. We haven't really made a full form decision on it, and going live on both doesn't really hurt us. So um, I think my guess is that we're going to move it exclusively over to our other channel, where we do our other hour long form content as well. So if you want to catch those live streams during the season, the safest bet is going to be just subscribe over there now. And if that's what you really want, you'll for sure get it over there. I can promise you that's where it will be, if it's not on this channel too. So that's a good question. Appreciate that. Let's see. Is trading Breece Hall for Gibbs worth it? I would keep Breece Hall there. And would I rather draft DK or Mike Evans? I personally would rather draft DK. I just think he has more upside than Mike Evans this year. I really do. I hate saying that, because I really do like Mike Evans as a player, but at the same time, man, okay, this is a really ugly spot to be in now. Sorry, I'm focusing on making a handful of picks here. We're gonna throw Greg Dortch in the queue, just to pair with our Rams players here. Golly, and we got sniped on a crap ton of quarterbacks there. Man, where do we go at this point? That's brutal. That's brutal. I was really hoping for a Will Levis comeback. Shoot. That's tough. I guess we're rolling with T-Law and Stafford as our top guys here. Again, these are the things that you unfortunately on Underdog, you trap yourself into when you draft Christian McCaffrey, just with how early those wide receivers go. You lock yourself into taking wide receivers so frequently you lose out on the tight end values, you lose out on the wide receiver values. As a third tight end, just because I'm not a huge fan of Brock Bowers this year, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Colby Parkinson as well. Again, we got a lot of Rams correlation here, not much on the Cardinals front, but we only got one more pick here, and we will shut this thing down. I guess we got some Trey Benson, we got some Greg Dortch as well. A little bit of Tennessee Jacksonville with Ridley, Brian Thomas, and Tony Pollard in there too. So, I mean, again, this is by far not the worst team I've had fall to me this year, but I'd be lying if I said it was my favorite. But that's all right. It's how the cookie crumbles some days. Not every day is a winner, but that's why Underdog, you can do as many drafts as you want. It's not just a one and done. It's not like your home league where it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm stuck with this team. You can go ahead and draft a handful of others as well. So they got the multitude of different contests that they run at a multitude of different prices to buy into. So again, code fellows over there if you want to do that. To other channel main, yeah. So if you're viewing on the shorts channel right now, which based on the numbers I'm looking at, the majority of you are, you can head down to the description of that video, and it will be quite literally say subscribe to our new channel. If you click that link, it'll take you right there, and you can subscribe there. So would appreciate your support over there. We're moving our long form podcast content exclusively over there. I think we're like 8-9 videos deep, got like 220-ish subscribers, 217 the last I looked over there. I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now, but yeah, would appreciate you all. Appreciate you all if you support us over there. Would you draft Higgins, Pickens, or Ridley? This is a great question. I prefer Higgins out of those three. It's a lot of guys where I think we have similar questions of how efficient are they going to be? And with Higgins and Ridley specifically, are they going to remain healthy? Are these guys going to give me, top 20 production this year? Or are they going to give me the same issues that they did last year? Pickens, I think, is a great opportunity in front of him. He also has the Brandon Ayuk effect potentially there as well. If Pittsburgh does indeed make a trade to land Brandon Ayuk, Pickens is his ADP is going to tumble at the cost of that. So I would personally, my preference, I at this moment is Higgins. I think I would still take Pickens because of the potential upside, and then Ridley. Because if D-Hop ends up coming back fine then as well, like I see that as more of not a 50-50, but I do like D-Hop. Excuse me, I'm going to yawn here a good amount this year. That's a bad thing to do on a live stream, but I digress. That's the order I would take those in. Higgins, Pickens, Ridley, the way you submitted that in the chat. Saw the video where you said avoiding drafting CJ Stroud, which I take Mahomes over him. Yeah, I would take Mahomes over him. I have Mahomes ranked ahead of him this year. I'm gonna have Mahomes as my, again, once I finish my tweaks here on my projections, Mahomes is gonna end up being my quarterback 5, where CJ Stroud will end up being my quarterback 7, as we're about to be on the clock with our final pick in the draft. I have no clue who I want here. I'm gonna take another wide receiver, just because our wide receiver room is so weak. Let's let's do this. If oh, you know what? Here we let's see, who do we get? Do we have any? We don't have any Lions, do we? Let's go a little Khalif Raymond. I love a little Khalif Raymond dart throw here. Again, I think Lions could be running a decent amount. 3 wide receiver, leave Laporta on the field, let him function as a big tight end. But on the off weeks, Khalif Raymond's going to catch a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown. Outscore Jameson Williams for the week. I will take that. And if if Detroit and San Francisco pops off week 17, then Khalif Raymond better be a part of it. What the heck? This is not the team I just drafted. Thank you. This is also not the team I just drafted. Show me my Best Ball Mania entry, Underdog. What are we doing? Come on now. There it is. I want to do a full recap of this team here quick before we sign off. I got to get going. All right. Let's recap this team quick. Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford. Not my favorite 1-2 punch at quarterback. But you know what? Considering the correlation, considering the upside, I like in both. I'm fine leaving it at those two. Again, really would have loved Will Levis in here, but just not how the cookie crumbled in this draft. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Tony Pollard, Zeke, Trey Benson as our running backs. Big fan of that running back room. This might be one of the best running back rooms I've drafted when taking Christian McCaffrey, mostly because I love the upside of Alvin Kamara. If Tony Pollard ends up being the 1A for the Titans, you get Zeke who stumbles into the end zone. If anything happens to James Conner, Trey Benson appears to be next in line, and we got him. I mean, look at the tumble on that. I mean, that is nearly that's 2 rounds after where he's currently being drafted. So we scoop up value there. Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, Calvin Ridley, Brian Thomas Jr. It's our top 5. You know what? After going McCaffrey, that's not a top 5. I don't mind that top 5 at all. Then DeMarcus Robinson, Greg Dortch, Khalif Raymond to wrap out the wide receiver room, and then Brock Bowers, Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson as our tight ends. We'll go back and we'll view we'll put the pretty draft board on the screen here just so you all can see how the first few rounds shook out. I'll answer a few more questions here, but then I am going to hop off because we are going to be recording tomorrow's episode of the podcast once I am done here. Let's see here. We'll do a quick review of Knacker's team here. You got Jalen Hurts, Breece Hall, Mixon, Amon-Ra, Waddle, Kelsey, Collins. Wow. Then bench Ken Walker, Kittle, Kupp, Love, and Ridley. Yeah, I love that team. You got a ton of depth all around. I think Mixon, a little sneaky underrated this year. I mean, going as a running back 14 on Underdog right now, don't get me wrong, but I think he's a guy, again, when he has a top 10 season, don't be surprised. Considering he's done it, the last 3 years. Pairing that with Breece Hall, and then if you get Ken Walker in there as well. If those are your only 3 wide receivers, I would consider adding one more. But no, I really love the depth that your team has here. My top 5 tight ends in order. I'm going to rattle them off the top of my head. My top 5 in order. Travis Kelce is my tight end 1. Sam Laporta is my tight end 2. Excuse me. Mark Andrews, tight end 3. Trey McBride, tight end 4. Dalton Kincaid, tight end 5. Those are my top 5 in order. And really, when I'm drafting them, I'll just take whichever one is last on the board. I typically prefer the Andrews, McBride, Kincaid because they all go in the same range. I think they all have relatively the same upside. So I would much rather just take whoever's last on the board to get the best value on them all. For the stream ends, should I take Worthy over Neighbors? I am a big fan of Malik Neighbors this year. I would much rather have him than Xavier Worthy. I know all the Xavier Worthy clips are fun coming out of camp. The Malik Neighbor ones are pretty sweet too. and he's not fighting for any competition. I know he's attached to literally the polar opposite quarterback from Patrick Mahomes. He also has polar opposite competition, right? He doesn't have debatably the best tight end in football. He doesn't have a Hollywood Brown. He doesn't have a Rashee Rice who's breaking out, who could break out in year 2. He's got, Jalen Hyatt. He's got Darius Slayton. He's got rookie Theo Johnson. Year 1 tight ends simply aren't that great. I would much rather have Neighbors over Worthy, despite how exciting Xavier Worthy could be this year. I just think the risk is too high on Xavier Worthy to take him over a Malik Neighbors. Here we go. NTT. I saw this one earlier and I didn't get to it. I realized Murray or Burrow. I do have Murray ranked ahead of Burrow, and it's the rushing upside. It's my slight anxiety with Joe Burrow's wrist. So I would take Kyler over Burrow. Any tips for growing football channel? Man, I think the biggest thing, and I love this question because this is a question that, admittedly, over on our TikTok, we get a lot of DMs from people just like, how do you do your editing? How do I tangibly do this? How do I tangibly do that? And it's like, I would love to give advice to all these people, but the problem is I can't put it in a message. And if I fielded all these questions, I'd be sitting on Zoom calls with people, like 30 hours of my week. And I have a full-time job. I have a full-time, basically this is turning into, a part-time content creation job. But the biggest thing that I can advise you, man, is like, just keep going and focus on quality over quantity. Like the one thing that I really started believing in for our channel is I want the next piece of content I make to be better than the previous one that I made. And like with that mentality, I've gone back and watched some of our old stuff, and it's just like, man, not that our old stuff was like bad, but the quality of the content kept increasing to a rate where I'm really proud of the content we've been putting out. I'm really proud of the progress that we've seen over the 3 years that we've had this channel. So just focus on making the next piece of content you make it better than the previous. Set the bar for yourself higher than the previous one. Don't make that bar unobtainable, because as soon as you make it unobtainable, you're going to get discouraged. But really focus on, all right, this is what I did this last video. What can I do to make it better? And really have that mentality of is my next piece of content going to be better than my previous one? It needs to be better than my previous one. So hopefully that's a way to like self drive yourself to more success, man. Yeah, really appreciate you tuning in, man. That dude, appreciate you, man. The regular season live streams are going to be great. I 100% agree. Appreciate you, Churchill. Really do. You all make it fun. You all make what we do super fun. So we're going to be back next week. We got a podcast coming out tomorrow. We got 9 must-have wide receivers coming out in tomorrow's video. Knacker, appreciate you, my guy. Channel is the best. Hey, we're looking to have fun playing fantasy football out here. As much as it is a analytical game, we got to have some fun along the way, right? As much as we want to put statistical analysis into it, as much as we want to have strategy, we got to have fun too. So no, we appreciate you all here. We got 9 must-draft wide receivers coming out on the new channel tomorrow. Again, that is down in the description of the video you are watching. Go subscribe over there and turn on those notifications so you know when we go live, so you know when all of our videos are up as well. Cameron and Tyler will be live on Monday next week. I'll be back on Wednesday with a live as well. We're going 2 lives per week before the start of the season with mock drafts to help you all prepare. We'll see you all soon. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you all. You can go follow me on Twitter as well, at Lucas Wencl. Again, down in the description of the live stream you are watching if you want to go follow some of my extra thought processes and statistical findings over there as well. Appreciate you all. See you all next week. Screw that. We'll see you tomorrow when the podcast comes out. Deuces.